Coming up on today's show, we've got a potential Week 1 schedule leak for the Falcons. I'll share with you all. Plus, we got our first look at Kirk Cousins in a Falcons uniform, throwing the pigskin around at OTAs. Some injury updates on Kirk, so I'll share that with everyone as well. Plus, PFF came out with an article where they went through all 32 teams and the most underrated player, and we'll see who they had for your Falcons. But let's start the schedule leak here. As Andrew Filipponi, who's a Pittsburgh Steelers beat reporter, tweeted out, keep an eye on the Steelers opening the season on the road at the Falcons. Wilson versus Cousins. Now, by no means do I think this is a done deal. I don't really trust Filipponi all that much, but he is pretty well tapped in with the Pittsburgh Steelers, so we'll give him a few minutes to talk about the possibility of Falcons-Steelers Week 1 in Atlanta. If this is the case, here's what the history books tell us. In Week 1, under Mike Tomlin, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 10-6-1. On the road, they are 6-4-1. Russell Wilson, in his career in Week 1, an even 500. Meanwhile, the Falcons, since, let's say, 2010, I just kind of picked that year, 5-9 in Week 1. At home, 3-4. And Kirk Cousins, 3-6. So history says this one's going to go to Pittsburgh, but maybe not. Now, the Falcons' 2024 opponents, you can look at all the teams they are playing at home. If they are opening up the season at the Benz, it's not going to be the Dallas Cowboys. They're already playing at Cleveland. The Chiefs are playing the Ravens Week 1, so you can start to eliminate a few teams here and there. If it's a road matchup, could be really any one of these road opponents the Falcons have in 2024, right? Broncos, Raiders, Vikings. I feel like they want to save Kirk Cousins' return to Minnesota a little bit later in the season because there's already so much excitement for Week 1. You don't need to blow the entire load by having all the revenge games in Week 1, which means maybe we don't get Russell Wilson and the Steelers going to Denver because they do play the Broncos on the road in Week 1, although that would be must-see TV. Now, before we get any further in the show, we're going to do a like battle with our Steelers channel here at Chat Sports. So I'm going to call on all of you right now. Hit the thumbs up button down below. Make sure we take down Steelers Talk in likes for today's video. Now let's switch gears and talk about Kirk Cousins because the Falcons, because of having a brand new head coach in Raheem Morris, have a few extra OTAs, organized team activities, practices throughout the month of May and into June. So that actually opened up yesterday on Monday. So they went right from rookie minicamp to the first day of OTAs, which means we get our football porn in mix, right? We get our football porn fix in where we get to check out all the great throws Kirk Cousins is making to players like Drake London. There were plenty of awesome slow-mo videos that were put out, so go check them out on the Falcons Twitter account. But Raheem Morris did talk about Kirk Cousins and where he's at health-wise, and here's what he said. Kirk is every day improving. We're kind of right at the point where he's doing everything that we can do at this point in Phase 2, which is nobody around him, there's no contact, he's all good with those types of things. He's doing all those things. He's been throwing. He's been out there pretty much full go. Now we got him on a limited basis. Obviously, because he's still in his rehab and his treatment and all those types of things. From just the little Twitter glimpse and boots on the ground reporting, Kirk Cousins looks sharp. Kirk Cousins looks sharp. I don't know why I can't speak today. Kirk Cousins looks really good so far. I mean, he's got good velocity on his passes. They're accurate. They're on time. There's no contact, there's no pressure, so it's very much a flag football scene right now. But still, you'd rather see him look good than airmail a couple of passes and have everyone nervous about, what $180 million quarterback did Atlanta just sign? Hopefully not this guy. So by a lot of accounts, Kirk Cousins has looked really, really good so far in a very, very small sample size. But, better than bad news, I would say. Now, Cousins also hopped on a podcast, Bussin' with the Boys from Barstool Sports, and was talking about Michael Penix and kind of the elephant in the room and whether or not he was upset with the Falcons for making that pick. And he said, I don't think that's helpful. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. It's hard enough, so let's all be on the same page and try to go win a Super Bowl. I would say Kirk Cousins has handled the Michael Penix pick pretty well. I mean, honestly, as well as one could handle that selection. Was he over the moon about it? Probably not, and I don't really blame him for that, right? He'd like to see that pick go to an offensive player to help him be more successful, or a defensive player to help make sure that when he gets a good lead, the defense doesn't blow it. But, I mean, Kirk Cousins has said that he's going to be, a resource for Michael Penix. He texted Michael Penix congratulating him when he was drafted by Atlanta. That way Penix would have Kirk Cousins' phone number so Penix could reach out to Cousins whenever he wanted to. Do I expect Kirk Cousins to bend over backwards to make sure Penix is better at his job than Kirk is? Probably not, but I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be looking to tear down Michael Penix. That way there's no quarterback controversy whatsoever. Cousins knows he's the guy. The question is for all 4 years of his contract, or does Atlanta start thinking about Penix towards years 2 or 3 of it? That remains to be seen. But for 2024, it's Kirk Cousins' team. There's no doubt about it. And he's all in on trying to do what's best for this team this season. Now, let me ask you guys this question. 30 touchdowns for Kirk Cousins, over or under? Last time a Falcons quarterback threw 30-plus touchdown passes, Matt Ryan in 2018. So can a 5-year drought end this year with Captain Kirk? Let me know. Give me an O for over or U for under. Now, next up on the show, I want to share with you all what PFF had to say about the most underrated player on the Atlanta Falcons. But first, Prize Picks, baby. Our number one sponsor for Falcons Today, because they make daily fantasy so easy. Where all you've got to do is pick 2 to 6 players and then choose more or less on their projected stats. So if you don't have a horse in the race for some of these NBA or NHL playoff games, get started with Prize Picks today, because now you're watching Obi Toppin through a whole new lens. I've got the more on Obi Toppin's points, 8.5. It's been a revenge series for him against his former team. He's been really good so far. Also like the more on Anthony Edwards. I feel like the Timberwolves are going to be hungrier than ever after losing the last 2 to the Nuggets. And then I sprinkled in an NHL one, took the more on that dude from somewhere in Russia, I believe, because I saw a goblin next to it, which means that stat line is easier to reach at 0.5 points. So if you like my selections, download the app today and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Get started with Prize Picks. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Now, the mystery man for most underrated player via Pro Football Focus is center Drew Dalman. Former 4th-round pick out of Stanford. He has started 31 games in the last 2 seasons. Didn't miss a game at all in 2022 when he became the starter after being a bench player his rookie year in 2021. Last year, he started 14 games, missed 3 games due to injury. Fun little nugget, looked at the entire draft class of 2021 for day 3 picks. He is one of 10 players to start 31 or more games. So he's in a very elite crowd of players that were not perceived to be great NFL talent potential, and all of a sudden they've started 31-plus games in 3 seasons so far as he enters the final year of his rookie contract, so he'll be looking to get a big payday. Now, PFF had this to say. With all other Atlanta offensive linemen being top 40 picks in their drafts, including 3 first-rounders, the former 4th-round pick Dalman could have stood out in a negative way, but that was not the case. The Stanford product built on a promising 2022 campaign and ended up as the 3rd highest graded center in the NFL in 2023. So in 2023, like PFF said, Dalman ranked 3rd out of 37 qualifying players per Pro Football Focus, and he was just one of the best centers in football. There's really no debate to be had here. He is a really good player that is ascending. You can see his stats are going in the right directions when it comes to penalties going down. And sure, sacks go up by 2, but that just is a result of, I think, teams looking to generate more pressure from the inside, because the last place a quarterback wants to get pressure from is right up the middle. Dalman is a hidden gem. Is he a household name even for Falcons fans? Probably not. Will he get to that point if he continues playing at the level he is? I really do believe so. And Atlanta's offensive line continues to be one of the best, if not almost close to the best offensive line in football. It's top 5 in my eyes, right? The worst, quote, player last year on the offensive line was the rookie, Matthew Bergeron, who still came in as a top half guard in the NFL. Jake Matthews is an absolute anchor on the offensive line at left tackle. Caleb McGarry may not be the best pass blocking tackle, but he's one of the best run blocking tackles. Chris Lindstrom has been a top 3 guard for the last 5+ years or wherever, ever since he got drafted essentially from Boston College. So I took a second step and I looked deeper into the PFF pass and run blocking grades. The Falcons last year ranked 3rd in pass blocking, which is really good for an offense that is likely going to throw the ball a whole lot more with Zach Robinson and Kirk Cousins in charge. Run blocking, Atlanta finished tied for 6th with the Indianapolis Colts, which means the Falcons were in a very elite company of only 7 teams that ranked top 10 in run and pass blocking last year per Pro Football Focus. So Drew Dalman, definitely a great recipient of the most underrated player on this Falcons team. But I'll turn it over to you. Open mic night here to wrap up the show. Who is the most underrated player for the Falcons? I don't know if David Onyemata can be considered underrated since they gave him a nice contract in free agency, but I do think he's one of the best interior defensive linemen in football. And, of course, all eyes are on Grady Jarrett, who's been the heart and soul of this Falcons defense almost since he got drafted. But I would not sleep on David Onyemata right next to him as well. That will do it for us on this edition of Falcons Today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you enjoyed today's episode, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you all tomorrow.